Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. Our countdown to Christmas is still ongoing. We're on the 18th of December. So yeah, we're getting on there. We're nearly there. What is it now? Less than a week till Christmas Day. But we've got yet another video, another unit comparison, and two more very interesting units, two of my go-tos for Necrons as well as Tyranids. So we're going to be doing a unit comparison between Tomb Blades and Gargoyles. So the Tomb Blades, of course, the Necron entry here, 70 points for 3. They're now cheaper with the new codex. And the Gargoyles are 75 points, but you get 10 of them. So we're going to kind of compare everything about them, really. So let's just get straight into this one. So the movement of both of these units is 12 inch. Toughness 5 with the Tomb Blades versus Toughness 3 with the Gargoyles. Save of a 4+ with Tomb Blades, which can be changed with some war gear, but we won't be putting that in because it's optional. But the Gargoyles only have a 6+ anyway. 2 wounds apiece for the Tomb Blades, so with a 3-man unit that's going to be a total of 6 wounds. Only 1 wound apiece for the Gargoyles, but of course this is a 10-man unit, so there's 10 wounds there. Leadership is slightly worse with the Gargoyles on an 8+, and the OC does match with OC2 for both units. So all in all, for the statistics only, I've got to go with the Tomb Blades. Yes, there are less wounds overall, with 4 wounds less. The better toughness, a better armor save. Now, of course, there's only 3 Tomb Blades here versus 10 Gargoyles, so we need to do some additional durability testing from the war gear that the Tomb Blades, in fact, actually have, because there are some options with the Tomb Blades war gear. So you've got the option of the Nebuloscope, the Shadow Loom, and the Shield Veins. Now, personally, I wouldn't bother with the Shield Veins. The Shield Veins will give you a 3+ armor rather than a 4+, but your move characteristic goes from a 12 to an 8 inch. I would rather keep that 12-inch movement. That's what they're about, their speed. So I would rather take that than have the armor save. Now, out of the 2 other options, you've got to pick one of them. You can't have both of them. The Nebuloscope ignores cover for the unit, but I would personally prefer Shadow Loom, which will add to the durability. It's effectively stealth. It gives the unit stealth, so it'll be a -1 to hit the unit because of the stealth ability. Now, on top of that, there is reanimation protocols, which is another defense mechanism for this unit, which Gargoyles, of course, don't have because it's a Necron army rule. So they're going to be regaining D3 lost wounds in every single one of their command phases. Carrying on with that, the durability side of it, I'm going to stick with the Tomb Blades. Now let's move into their abilities. I'm going to stick with the Tomb Blades again. You've got the Scout 9-inch ability. So before the first battle round's begun, you can move your Tomb Blades out of your, maybe out of your deployment area, most likely out of your deployment area really, or just move them out of line of sight, whatever you want to do. They've got a 9-inch extra move before the game begins. We've already spoken about reanimation protocols, and their evasion engrams, which is in the shooting phase. After this unit has shot, you can make a normal move up to 6 inches, but then you can't be charging. So that's what the Tomb Blades have. Let's check out the Gargoyles. Now, the Gargoyles don't have Scout 9-inch, but they do have Deep Strike, which I think is actually better because you're coming in anywhere on the battlefield just more than 9 inches away from enemy models. They've, of course, got Synapse, which is their army rule, so within Synapse range, which they probably won't be, to be honest with you, but if they are within Synapse range, they get to use 3d6 when taking a Battle Shock test, which means they're more likely to actually pass the test. Now, their unique ability, Winged Swarm, very similar to the Tomb Blades, in fact. In your shooting phase after this unit is shot, if it's not within engagement range, but they can make a normal move of up to 6 inches, and until the end of the turn, that unit cannot declare a charge. So virtually almost identical abilities there, except I have to give this one to the Gargoyles, and I'll explain why. Now, I may have actually, in fact, explained this in a few of the previous videos in this countdown to Christmas, but I'll explain it again because this is their unique video. So why this is so good is if you're doing a deep strike move, you're 9 inches away from enemy models, or just over 9 inches away from enemy models. Not necessarily 9 inches away from an objective marker, because you could position it just right. You then come in and shoot with your weapons, with your flesh borer weapons, and then after you shot, you make a normal move 6 inches. Now what you do with your Gargoyles is you go forward towards the objective, dipping toes onto the actual objective, because you're 9 inches away from enemy models, not necessarily the actual objective itself. So you could be stealing an objective because you're OC2, stealing an objective without even having to make a charge move from Deep Strike, which I think is really powerful. Whereas the Tomb Blades, they don't have that option to do that. They've got to literally fly onto it with their natural speed and maybe Scout 9 inch as well. But I really like that ability. I think it literally just gets you onto an objective unless it's severely heavily guarded. So yeah, I'm going to give that point to the Gargoyles, I think. So let's start with the Tomb Blades. They've got 3 completely different weapons here that you've got to pick while making your actual list. The first is the Particle Beamer, which has Blast and Devastating Wounds. Only 18-inch range, but it's got D6 attacks per model, so you've got a 3-man unit, that's 3d6 shots. Hit on 3s, Strength 5, no AP, 1 damage. So not bad, has Blast and Dev Wounds, no AP though unfortunately, and not much in terms of the range. And the second option is the Twin Gauss Blaster, which has Lethal Hits and Twin Linked. This time it's 24-inch range, 2 attacks per model, so 6 for the min unit there. Hit on 3, Strength 5, minus 1 AP, 1 damage. Not many shots to really go for the lethal hits, but you do have Twin Linked with your Strength 5, not too bad. The Twin Tesla Carbine, this has the Assault keyword, which I think is key for this kind of unit for extra speed, for the advancing. It also has Sustained Hits 2 and Twin Linked. 24-inch range, 2 shots each, again hit on 3s, Strength 5, this time no AP and 1 damage. So I think out of the 3 options there, I used to like the Particle Beamer, but they have since nerfed that slightly since the Codex has been released. I would probably now favour the Twin Tesla Carbine. But the Gargoyles on the other hand have the Flesh Borers, which are Assault, 18-inch range, only 1 shot each, but bear in mind there is 10 in this unit. Hitting on 4s, so slightly worse than the Ballista skill. Strength 5, no AP, 1 damage. And there's no extra keywords with that Flesh Borer other than Assault. So very similar to the Twin Tesla Carbine, you can advance and still fire. So if these Flesh Borers were to be firing at, for example, some Gaunts, some other Gaunts, you'd probably only kill 2 of them. This is on average. Half a Space Marine, you're not really going to do any damage to a Terminator, you'd be lucky to get 1 wound. And as far as Toughness 10 goes, well yeah, you're not really doing anything. On the other hand, I've got a little chart for us for all 3 of the Tomb Blades. Now you can see pretty much all of the weapons are better going up against Gaunts. They're also all better going up against Space Marines. They're not great against Terminators, but they can at least deal a wound or 2. And Toughness 10, maybe they're doing a wound. So they're not massive in terms of damage output, but they're definitely better than the Gargoyles, even though there's only 3 of them in this unit versus the 10-man Gargoyle unit. Now what about scoring? We briefly touched upon, grabbing objectives with the Gargoyles. What about both units? I mean, both have got some sort of movement ability, whether it's Scout or Deep Strike. They're both moving 12 inches naturally. They've both got assault weapons if you're using the Tesla Carbines, that is the Tomb Blades. But the Gargoyles have an assault weapon with the Flesh Borers. And they're both moving 6 inches after shooting. So they can be doing all sorts. They can be dealing with your primaries, they can be dealing with your secondaries, engage in all fronts, behind enemy lines, deploy teleport homers, investigate signal collect. Pretty much all of them that doesn't relate to like killing units. And even then they've got a minor chance of removing a screening unit. Not so much assassination and things like that, and not so much bring it down. But all the other options of the secondaries, they can probably do them. So I'm going to call that one a tie. I think they're both just as good as each other at scoring objectives, just by using their speed alone. Synergy wise, I think that the Gargoyles have got a lot more going for them. As an example, they've got the Winged Tyranid Prime, which can be attached to this unit as a leader. And he will be providing Sustained Hits 1 for the unit, which isn't so bad at range with Strength 5. Kind of makes it feel a little bit like the Tesla weapons with the Tomb Blades, doesn't it? I mean, they can actually also get that naturally with the Invasion Fleet, but that will only be against Infantry and Swarm. Or alternatively, they could turn on lethal hits with monsters and vehicles. And the other option is Unending Swarm. That's a detachment for the like the so-called battle line kind of units. The units that have the Endless Multitude keyword. They've also got that keyword, so therefore they're going to interact quite nicely with that detachment. With that detachment ability, as soon as you lose a model in that unit, they can make a surge move, and if you do so, you simply just roll a d6 and you move up to that many dice. A lot more to the movement that, it already has a lot of movement with the Gargoyles, but you're going to add even more with it. And going back to the Winged Tyranid Prime, the enhancements that are available to him, Relentless Hunger to add 2 to the move characteristics, maybe you want that. That's going to be now a movement of 14 for the unit. Naturalized Camouflage to be giving them the benefits of cover, maybe. Piercing Talons for an extra bit of AP, so now you all of a sudden do have minus 1 AP. Or Adrenalized Onslaught, when the actual unit can pile in and consolidate an extra 3 inches. Now, I don't think they're that great in melee. They shouldn't really be charging, so I'd probably avoid that one. And of course, there's a lot of stratagems in that detachment as well. Now, the Tomb Blades, on the other hand, They don't really synchronise much with the Necron detachments. I mean, you've got the Awakened Dynasty. They don't have a natural leader, so they can't really interact too heavily with that. The Obeisance Phalanx, well, they're not Lich Guard, they're not Overlord, and so on. Canoptic Court, they're not Canoptic, they're not Cryptex. The Hyperphase Crypts, the Hypercrypt Legion even. Yeah, I mean, they could interact with that, but they've already got the speed with all the deep striking in and all the strategic reserves and all that stuff, so you don't necessarily need a fast unit because you've got units coming in and out all the time. So that just leaves the Annihilation Legion, which of course they're not destroyers or flayed ones. So they're kind of just fitting into any detachment, but not really benefiting from any of the rules. So that one definitely is a point for the Gargoyles. But all in all with this video, I think what it comes down to is the statistics of the Tomb Blades is very key. But the Gargoyles do have that ability and they're strength 5 and they do come in numbers. So I'm finding this one really difficult to call. But I've got to go with one of them. So I'm going to, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side of the fence you are, I'm going to go with the Tomb Blades. I've done a top 10 recently where I did put Tomb Blades just, in front of the Gargoyles. So I've got to try and stay consistent at least. But they are pretty much on par. They really are. So guys, that has been the 18th of December. And I'll see you tomorrow. See you then.